So we're going to talk a little bit about using your calculator to find some of the values that we'll need to find with the trigonometry. Okay, so we're going to practice on this one with our something we know, okay? So first of all, on your calculator, it can be in degrees or radians. Now, on my calculator, I have a DRG button, and it's up at the top, and I just have kind of a inexpensive TI calculator. So yours might be more advanced. I'll talk a little bit about that, but you may have to get out your user manual to go between degrees and radians. You might have to figure that out. Okay, so I have a DRG button. When the other button that I've seen on calculators is mode. And then a lot of times you'll have to find where it says, okay, degrees, radians. The other option is gradients. We're not going to talk about those in this class, but sometimes you'll see that on the calculator. Okay, so on my calculator right now, down in the bottom right, there's a little teeny 3-letter thing there that says, and it says RAD, meaning radians. So right now my calculator is set in radian mode, and I'm going to put it in degree mode. So I'm going to hit my degree button, I'm going to hit underneath so it's underlined, and I'm going to hit enter. And now it should say degree down in that. Mine's in the lower, it's not even in a box, but it's in the lower right corner for my calculator. Now, I've seen them up at the top before, so it might be up at the top, but it should display what it's in. If it doesn't display, then you've got to go to that mode button and make sure it's in the right mode. Okay? All right. So we're going to go ahead and use degrees, and we're going to do one we know. So the sine of 30 degrees, we know it's 1/2, right? Okay, so that's the one we've learned, hopefully. And so let's practice that on our calculator. Go ahead and put your sine button in. We're already in degrees, so we're okay on that. And we put in 30, close the parenthesis, and it equals 0.5. So that's the same thing as 1/2. So cool. All right. Now we're going to switch to radians, okay? So we're going to find the sine of pi over 6. And I know we had an earlier problem in another video that we used a calculator, and I just put a note in there because I kind of forgot, oh, you got to make sure degrees and radians. I'll try to redo that video, but I don't know when that would happen. So, okay, so now we're going to switch to radians, so I can clear it out, go back to my degree button. I'm going to go under radians or your mode button. I think the ones that we use at school have a mode button. Okay, so you're looking for these buttons. Mine just has DRG, but it might be under mode. Okay. And then now that I'm in radians, so I see this part down in the corner, now I'm going to go sine on my calculator, and I'm going to put pi divided by 6. Close that off, and I get 0.5. But we knew that. Okay, so just practicing a little bit, you're switching between degrees and radians sometimes. And you might say, well, I want to always be in radians, or I always want to be in degrees. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Sometimes they're going to give us degree measurements because out in the practical applications, a lot of the tech that you'll see is done in degrees. Like when you see surveyors out there surveying property and land and things like that. It's usually done in degrees, to my knowledge. I'm not a surveyor. But then in calculus, a lot of times we want it to be in radians. So, okay. So degrees or radians. Make sure you know what your calculator is set on so that it will do it correctly for you. Otherwise, you're going to get the wrong number. And you're going to say, I got the wrong number. All right. Now we're going to apply this with reciprocals. Okay, so remember the sine of t. Nah, I don't want to do that. Well, you know what? I'll do that. Sine of t is equal to 1 over the cosecant of t. But you can also write it the other way. The cosecant of t, I think we talked about this, is 1 over sine t. Now let's say I want to find the cosecant of 30 degrees. We already know what that is because this is a special angle, so we've already talked about that. But we're going to show you how to do it on your calculator. So we know the answer. We know the answer is 2, okay? Because it's the reciprocal of the sine. Okay. Now, on your calculator, you don't have a cosecant button, okay? So what you have to do is you have to put 1 over sine of 30 degrees. Okay, so let's clear this out. So 1 divided by sine, then I forgot to switch to degrees. Okay, so let me switch to degrees. Caught that in time. Okay, switch to degrees. Okay, I'm in degrees. So 1 divided by sine 30. And you don't have to put the degree symbol because it already knows it's in degrees. And we'll hit enter. And we get 2, which that's what we were expecting to do. Let's see. So you're going to have to do the same thing if you wanted to do like secant. You're going to have to do 1 over cosine. Tangent, you're going to have to do 1 over, or cotangent, you're going to have to do 1 over tangent, because I only have on my calculator, I have sine, cosine, and tangent buttons. I don't have the other 3 trigonometric functions. So you have to use the 1 over button. Now, you might have some questions. Some calculators have a 1 over x button. You can use that. You'll have to play around with it. I would play around with something that you know, just to make sure. I don't see that on my calculator. I don't know that mine has that button. Okay. Now, if you want to know about, okay, so there's like a special box here, that sine inverse button, that's something else. Okay, that's not what we're doing here. Something else. We'll talk about it and we'll use it eventually, but you can't do the reciprocals with that. Okay, so don't use that right now. We'll talk about that later. Okay? This is kind of a long video. All right, but that's how you use your calculator. Good luck. Just remember, if you're doing degrees, have it in degree mode. If you're using radians, do it in radian mode. Okay?